Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Nico. Nico's joining us today. So, how has your week been?
Tiring.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted today.
You have been like head down editing. We've both been working, but we've had this extra long video that you've been editing, and I feel like it's really consumed you.
It's taken it out of me this week. It's not even just that it's long. We've just had I've not had a straight run on it. We've always been
Going out.
and then I'm taking my laptop everywhere with me. So whenever I can get a moment, I just sit down and just crack on with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's taken it out of me this week. I'm exhausted. Plus, my training stepped up as well on my riding, so that's not helping as well.
So that's tiring you out too.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty tired. Are you?
I'm okay. Went out and did a long walk this morning. I want to make like the most of the
Or did you?
cool weather. Yeah, because I went with you.
Right. I love how you're telling
Well,
me.
that was nice. We went for a nice coffee this morning, went for a long walk, and then I carried on my walk, and you came back with Nico. Nico loved it.
I only came because I knew I'm out normally every day in the morning. So I was like, I better just do my husband duties and go for a walk.
Did you not want to go?
No.
Why don't you just be honest with me? I wouldn't have held it against you if you didn't. I just asked you because I thought it'd be nice. But if you had said no, I would have been fine. I would have just gone myself.
It's a trick question.
No.
It is a trick question.
It's really not. I think you're overthinking it.
Is it coming to that time of the month as well?
Yeah.
Right. So do you think I dare test the wrath?
No, I would not have got annoyed at you for that. I would not have, honestly.
So yeah, no, but it's good. I managed to get some steps in. Seeing as I don't do much exercise.
Yeah. So have you got anything you want to talk about this week?
Have you?
I'm just asking if you've got anything that you've remembered that you want to talk about.
Not that I really want to talk. Well, yeah.
What?
I'll tell you what's drained me as well this week, right?
What?
The number of people that I've come across with reasons why they can't do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's dealing with these types of people is probably the most draining thing I find in my life.
What do you mean, that they can't do stuff?
They complain about stuff.
Yeah.
Right? They'll complain about a situation that they're in, and you can come up with a solution, and it's a perfectly easy solution. But then once you give them that solution, they've got a reason why they can't do that as well.
Yeah. Excuses.
Yeah. And it's just like, what? Either stop complaining,
Yeah.
right, about the situation that you're in,
Or do
stop
some-
doing my head in about it,
Yeah.
or do something about it. And it's just one or the other, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
This whole complaining culture, the number of people I've dealt with this week who feel sorry for themselves about the situations that they're in, and the reasons why they're in that situation is because of themselves.
Yeah.
No one's put them in that situation.
Yeah.
And if you want to get out of that situation, it's a very easy way out. So here you go, here's your solution. Oh no, but I can't do that. But do you know what? If we did this 50 years ago, it would have been all right. And it's like, what? You can't go back and change time.
Yeah. But I think that's something that some people still think. They look back rather than look forward. And the thing is, if they start looking forward and think about what they potentially could do, people's lives could actually change
Yeah,
for the better.
It's just draining, trying to help people that don't want to help themselves.
Yeah.
That's drained me as well this week.
This is the thing, though. I think you reach a point where you can't help people. But I get what you're saying. The frustrating part is that then don't complain about it. Like, why are you complaining? If you're complaining, I'm assuming you want help, but then you don't want to take the advice. So then just don't complain about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So be happy with the situation that you're in because you're in it. Or you're doing whatever you're doing because that's your decision.
Yeah.
Stop moaning about it and move on.
Do you know what that comes down to again, though? What we mentioned last week is laziness. I think.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Especially when you see people who could do something.
I think laziness and complacency.
Yeah.
A lot of people are complacent in their position that they're in. Don't want to do anything about it, but yet will continue to complain.
Yeah. 100%.
So yeah, no, I feel like this week I've been like a shoulder to cry on for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like another mate of mine's going through like some relationship stuff. So he called me yesterday, and it's weird listening to that sort of stuff at this age.
Is it really?
It's the kind of stuff you used to hear, you know, like when you're younger. But now, pretty much everyone our age is all either settled down, or they're not looking, or you know, they kind of like found their place in life. So it's really weird when you hear people who are still actively at this age going out dating, and then you hear their situation and it's like. But then it's like I was speaking to him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in this thing, and you know, it's not 50-50. You know, I don't feel like I'm getting out what I'm putting in and stuff like that." And it's just like, once you're in a relationship, we're looking outside in. It's very easy to turn and comment and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that," you know.
Yeah.
But when you're in the relationship, like you're blind to it.
Yeah.
I remember when I was younger as well, I used to be blind to stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, people used to say, "Oh yeah, you know, she's not good for you." And you're like, "No, I know." And then you end up getting divorced, and you're like, "Okay, maybe I should have listened." Maybe you saw stuff that it's like parents.
Yeah. They always know.
No, my parents were set in mind; they were dead against it.
Yeah.
But let it go ahead.
Yeah.
And then they were right.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. But I wonder how many people are actually in relationships and unhappy.
I've thought this sometimes as well, and it's quite sad because it's just life, isn't it? Not everyone can be happy in the situation, like exactly what we were just saying. We were talking about people who are unhappy in the situation, but they actually could do something about it. But it's the same with like relationships, people who are married. Like imagine the number of people who are married where one of them or both of them are so unhappy, yet they still stay together. And, you know, I don't know if it's like this for majority of cultures. Obviously, I can only speak for ours, but I feel like a lot of the time, the reasons are always different as to why you would stay with someone when you don't really want to be in that relationship. I can obviously speak from experience, not now, but previously. Don't worry, babe, I want to be with you. You know, there's no way in hell I'm leaving you.
Do you know what? Even if it got to the point where you were unhappy with me and you wanted to leave me,
Yeah.
I'd encourage you to do it.
Yeah, I if I ever felt like that, I wouldn't. I don't feel like I would let any kind of external pressure force me to stay in this relationship.
If I was unhappy with you and I don't want to be with you, I'd leave.
Yeah. I think both of us would.
And I'm not saying that to be like brash or anything like that.
No, I don't take it offensively at all.
It's like, what is the point? You get one life, right? And it's a very short life.
Yeah.
Because you get to this age and you're like, oh.
I agree.
You know, where did the last 40 years go?
Yeah.
And then you look at a timeline, right? And you're like, oh, like I'm 46 this year, so I'm going to be closer to 50 than I am to 40, right?
Yeah.
And my dad passed away at 51, right? And I remember when I was younger, and I was like, everyone used to say, "Oh yeah, he died young. He died young. You know, like you shouldn't be going at that age." And I'm 46 now.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, "Oh, he was 51. I thought he was quite old." And now I'm going to be 50 in a few years, and I'm like, bloody hell, he was young.
Exactly. It's not actually as old as you think it is. I think it's the youngsters who, when you're young, you do feel that, oh my God, that's so old.
Yeah, when you're 18 and you look at a 40-year-old, you're like, oh my God, that person's really old. Like, what do they know?
Do you know what's really bizarre is when you reach this age, like when you get into your 40s, because that's the age that you can still remember your parents at, right? And you remember how you looked at them. But the bizarre thing is that you are getting that same feeling of how they must have felt at that age. And you're experiencing something that they experienced during the time that you had no idea, but you were judging probably. And you just thought they're so grown up. But now that you get to this point, you kind of look at them and you think, you were still figuring it out. You were still in the process of figuring life out in general. And I'm not talking about career or things like that, but just general life, day-to-day things. Do you know what I mean? You don't reach a point when you're older in your 40s where you're like, all of a sudden, it's like you think completely differently to how you did last year. It doesn't work like that. It's just so slow and progressive. And it's just, that's why, obviously, it's the life experience, isn't it?
Yeah, but even then, it's like, I look, right, my dad was 51. When he died, I was 25, right? imagine having like a 20-year-old kid walking around here.
Yeah.
Like if we had a 20-year-old,
That's crazy.
right? And like he had 4 kids.
Yeah.
Like I was 25 and my sister was 14 at the time when he passed. So you imagine that, 4 kids at 51.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It really is. When you think about it, like, imagine us now with these, like, teenagers walking around.
I know. Being lippy and
Yeah.
you're trying to control them. Like life has changed, and then you sit back and things that you take for granted, like how successful my dad was, you just take it for granted, right? Because when you
Yeah.
get to this age and you're like, if I had to run a business, run a house, run 4 children, put them through private school, take them on holiday every year, all of them,
Not only
right?
that.
Clothe them, feed them,
Yeah.
right? Go out for dinners.
But he wasn't only doing that. You guys were, like, building an entire house
Yeah. So
from scratch.
Yeah. So doing all of that, like he's a much bigger man than I can ever be.
Yeah.
Like-
It honestly is. It's so wild thinking about the fact that there's that you remember your parents at that age, you were looking up to them, and it just, you have such a different perception of what their life is about, right? That when you're younger.
I don't think, like I'm guilty of this. I didn't give my parents the respect that I think they deserved at that age for what they were
Yeah,
doing.
100%. I agree.
'Cause you just
I
take
probably
it for
didn't.
you just take it for granted.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, this is my life. You know, I want this.
Yeah.
I want, and when they turn around and say, oh no, you can't have that. You're not allowed it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, why not? You know, and it's like, if a kid said that to me now, like, I'll be like, you ungrateful.
Yeah. You know what I remember always hearing from my parents, more so my mum, right, is you'll realise when you're older, or you'll realise, a few times I heard my dad say it, but you'll realise when you get to this point, that's when you'll realise. And at that point I used to be like, oh, for God's sake, same line over and over again. And now when I'm older, I'm like, honestly, anything that I can, any period of my life up to this point that I can remember them referring to back then, saying you will realise when you either get married or you either do this or you either do that, I have always looked back and thought they were right.
Yeah.
So now I've learned that when I hear these things from them, I don't judge them now. I don't get annoyed because I'm like, okay, you know better. You reach a point where you respect the life experience they have. They are always going to be more like wiser than you. And it's just these little things that you learn as you get older.
It's the life experience, I would say. But even like you've got, what's the age difference between you and the youngest? 16.
Yeah.
16 years. Mine's 11 years, right? So even that 16 years for you and the 11 years for me, the life experience that we've got in those years, and that's the hardest part, trying to get your siblings to understand that, hang on a minute, I'm not just an older sibling. I have got more life experience than you, so therefore you should do this or you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then they look at you like, oh, because, you know, you're on the same level because you're all siblings. Why are you telling me to do this? And
Yeah,
then
but you
there's
know they're
like-
in the same position as what we were when we were younger, when we were looking at our parents. Do you see what I mean?
But
So
no, they're not, because a sibling to a sibling is very different to a child to a parent.
no, I understand that. Of course, it's a completely different relationship. I'm not saying it's the same thing. What I'm saying is, just in terms of the way that you look at someone who's older than you, you assume they're talking crap, right? Because that's what I assumed when I was younger, in all honesty. And I feel stupid for it today, right? Because I've learnt the hard way. But what I'm saying is they still will look at us and think we probably don't know what we're talking about. But once they get older, they will, which inevitably they will reach that point where they realise, actually, hold on. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's a cycle. It is just normal. Everyone is going to reach that point where they're like,
But it's not even, I don't think it's just an age thing. Like a friend of mine, he's ex-military. Lives and works here alone. His wife's back in the UK, right? So she comes and visits now and then. So he went back over Christmas and New Year's. So I was asking him, I was like, how was your Christmas and New Year's? He goes, yeah, it's all right, it's good. I was like, how are the girls? He's got 2 daughters. He goes, yeah, they're good. He goes, the older one's a bit of a nuisance. I was like, why? And he's like, oh, she's moved to London. So they're originally from like the Midlands area.
Right.
And she's moved to London, but now because she's moved to London, she thinks she knows it all. And, you know, the mum and dad don't have a clue about life because they don't live in London, so they don't really know what life is. So he was like, she's like coming back, trying to teach us life, you know, like we don't know what life is. And I was like, what? And you're ex-military, you've travelled around the world, you've seen things she will never see in her life.
Yeah.
Right? You are now living in Dubai, and he's got an awesome job, you know, the kind of places he goes and visits now, doing what he's doing. And yet his little 26-year-old daughter's acting like he doesn't have a clue. So it's a cycle. It is a cycle. Like, we did it.
Yeah.
The future kids are going to do it, and their future kids are going to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just, but it's only when you get to this age you realise, hang on a minute, I was stupid.
Yeah.
I was stupid. I shouldn't have thought what I thought. And
Yeah.
But it's part and parcel of.
It's the one thing I feel like won't change. You know, like the world is changing massively, but that is the one thing I don't think will ever change. It can't. Because it's just something you cannot change no matter with whatever you have, technology, science, anything, you can't change it. You are always going to find someone who is so much older than you, has more life experience, and nothing ever will change that.
Okay, so here's one for you, right? So our parents now, right? So yeah, you've obviously heard of that thing where your parents will parent you up until a certain point, and then as soon as you're a child, you start beginning to parent your parents.
Yeah.
Do you feel you're parenting your parents?
I mean,
your dad's 70 this year.
yeah, and that to me is mind blowing. I don't even like to think about it because I'm like 70. You know, I feel like my parents live in a different country to me. So I think if they were here and I saw them more often, I know there are probably certain things I probably would be like that towards them. But I don't think as much as I've seen other people do it. Like, I think my mum is probably more so, along with her siblings, like that towards her dad. But then her dad is so much older. So I don't know if, as we get older, you become more like that towards your parents. But currently, I feel like not so much with my parents.
Yeah, see, I feel there's been a positive change there.
Yeah.
Because, like, my mum's really good. Like, very independent.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she's able to get out and about. She's 70 next year, right? And when you look at previous 70-year-olds, you like my grandparents, when they turned 70, they weren't as active, they weren't as, you know, mobile, they weren't as independent. So I think in that respect, I think it's been a great shift.
Yeah.
You know, like, even though your dad is 70, he's still walking around doing his, you know,
very
work, active,
yeah.
does what he needs to do. Same thing with my mum. She'll travel, she'll go and do what she wants. A few things, you know, she'll call on me for help for, but that's not really an age thing. That's more of a knowledge thing. You know, like, I need help with this, and then I'll crack on with it. So I wouldn't say it's the age that's holding her back. That's just purely and not having a husband. So I would say that's all that is. But in that respect, you know, I give them credit because, you know, getting to this age, like my dad and his brothers all looked after their mother from a very young age. You know, she didn't work, and, you know, they looked after her, kept her, you know, paid her salary and stuff like that. So not only did they have to look after their children, they were also looking after a parent.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
See, that's the difference
so
as
imagine
well
if
between
we had
then and now.
Yeah, if we had now kids.
Yeah.
Walking around here, and then we also had our parents to.
Yeah. See, that's how things have just like changed so much though. It's like, I remember when I was younger, when I was living at home with my parents and all my siblings, we grew up with my grandparents in the same house. So it was my grandparents. At one point, I had my great-grandmother in the house. So imagine that. I had a great-grandmother. My great-granddad passed away when I was like a toddler, I think. And then we had my granddad, grandma in the house, and my mum and dad, and then me and my siblings. At one point, all of us were in one house.
But I also think, right, looking back, they were the most fun times.
Oh, they were great.
Living, and I know now, like, I very rarely see any of my family, right? Even my cousins and stuff. Like, we don't even talk. We very, like, there's very little communication between all of us. But yet, when we were younger, there used to be, like, and there'd be, like, a small house, and everybody would get together, and then there'd be like food and you know, like even birthday parties, there'd be like loads of food, cake, kids running around, adults in the lounge, and it wasn't big. You know, that the house wasn't big, and I think people have lost their way. You know, in life, like they've lost that touch with family. Like you imagine doing that now, getting all your
just
family,
wouldn't even
all
be
your
the same
cousins,
thing.
everything.
It wouldn't even be the same thing.
But I do miss that.
I do miss that too. And the difference is, if you were to get all those people together in terms of for our time now, it just wouldn't be as, there wouldn't be as much harmony as what there was back in the day.
Well, as in if you got your cousin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying imagine if we replicated what they did. So imagine, and we can't because our siblings, some of them aren't even married. They don't have the number of children.
Yeah, no one's progressed in the same way. Yeah.
Whereas back in that era,
Yeah.
they were all married.
Yeah.
They all had children. So, you know, like I was saying, that my dad was young when he had
Yeah.
me. So at that age, you would have a collection of
Yeah.
kids. Like all me and my cousins, there'd be, I reckon, must be 12, 15 kids from all the
Sounds about right for me as well.
you know, like, so my dad, his two brothers and his two sisters, they'd get together, bring their kids, right? There'd be a minimum of 2 kids per family, right? And then we'd all get together and we'd, like, there'd be noise everywhere in the house. And then, you know...
And then you're all getting told off by the uncle.
Yeah.
It was the same with us.
Playing out in the garden,
yeah.
the doors
you're
open.
Making too much noise.
Yeah, let us talk, go outside.
I know.
So...
Me and my cousin, my dad's brother's daughter, and my uncle, he isn't alive anymore, but we used to spend so much time together with them. We used to see them all the time. And me and my cousin were very close. We were more like sisters than anything. So I was with her everywhere. And me and her used to get told off all the time for laughing too much. Can you believe that?
No, I can,
Do you ever remember that? Like being told off for laughing too much?
You're making too much noise, you're laughing. I'm
We
sorry.
were laughing so. We just used to laugh all the time because we used to just be we used to be silly, right, and do silly stuff. And we get told off, and I remember it was one of those things. It was the kind of dynamic which I think was the same as yours, from what I remember you telling me, where my uncle would tell us off like I'm also his child. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like in today's day and age, it wouldn't be like that. Like, because you'd have kids turning around saying, "You're not my dad." If I had ever turned around and said that, oh my God.
I was actually more scared of my uncles than I was of my dad. And they had like full authority to slap me.
Yeah.
And you'd know, you know, like,
Yeah.
sometimes my dad would be like, "I'm going to call you uncle," right? And once he did it, I remember he was like, "Oh," I thought he was like pretending on the phone.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh yeah," he called him, he's like, "Oh yeah, Bobby's giving me grief at home. No, he's not listening. Like, can you have a word with him?" So, I thought I was acting all hard. My dad was like, "Oh, here you go, here's the phone. It's your uncle on the phone." I thought, yeah, he's lying. And I picked up the phone. I was like, "Hello?" And he was on the phone.
Really?
And I was like, he did it. He called him.
Yeah. It was very different back then. It was just, like you said, it's just people haven't progressed in the same way. You know, people are not having kids as quick or even having kids, full stop. Like, look at us, right? So it's just, the dynamic is very different. But I really do miss those days. It was the best time, and I'm just glad that I had the experience that I had. You know, being able to live with grandparents. Like, I write in my journal every morning, and there's things that I'm grateful for. And one of the things I seem to write quite often is, like, I'm grateful for the memories that I have from my childhood. Because that's one thing that scares me about getting older. You know, there are many things that can happen to us as we get older in terms of diseases and old age and all sorts of things. But one of the things that does scare me is losing your memories, because that's all you have. Do you know what I mean? Like, that to me is scary. So I always am very grateful every morning of the things that I remember and the little moments that I remember. Like, sometimes I'm walking with Nico outside and I'm like, because I was so close to my grandmother, and I'm like, imagine, and I think of my grandmother, I'm like, oh my God, she'd love it here. She'd love to go on these little walks. So I'm so grateful for having that time that we had, because not everyone gets to have it. And I think going forward in life, it's going to become less and less for people, I think.
Like, I have a nephew and a niece that probably don't even know who I am.
That is crazy.
Do you
Yeah.
know, they'll see photos of me in the family house.
Yeah.
So they'll come home and they'll see a picture of me, but don't know who I am. So they'll go through their life knowing that they've got an uncle sat in Dubai, but they don't know who he is.
Isn't that insane? But that just goes to
But
show.
in our generation,
Yeah.
there is no way that I wouldn't have known my dad's brothers
No
or
way.
sisters.
Yeah. But look how much the world has changed. It's just completely different. But going back to what we were saying in terms of like how people still stay together when they don't even want to be with one another. Like, I feel like with me and you, we've had those kind of experiences in life. Like, we met each other pretty late in life, and we'd gone through all the crap before we got to each other. And I think that's why, like you said, we're both on the same page. If we were ever unhappy, we'd be very honest with one another. And I don't think either of us, are offended by the fact that we would be open and honest with one another like that. To me, it blows my mind that there are people out there that are in relationships that they really don't want to be in.
Yeah, because they don't leave. I'll tell you what, they don't leave. Because they might be unhappy, but there's certain things holding them in that relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Could be kids, could be whatever it is, right? So this is what I mean. So everybody's got priority. Their priorities are
different.
They don't look at their happiness until maybe they will later on, or later down the line, turn around and think, oh, maybe I wasn't happy. But I always think it's better to marry late than to marry wrong.
Yeah.
Right, and I've done both.
Yeah.
I've married late and I've married wrong.
Yeah.
So I would have much rather not have married wrong and just married late.
Yeah.
Because but then that marrying wrong also gives you life experiences, and I wouldn't be sat here saying to you now, if I'm unhappy, I'd walk.
I always think that, and I think back, and I think, like, you're right, I agree with you there. Like, I can only think of the reasons why I didn't leave previously in my experience, but I have to, I guess, realise that everyone has a different reason,
It's a double-edged sword, because you see stuff like that. You see, like, people who are married and then they're unhappy, and then you see people who are unmarried at this age, and then you're like, you've never experienced what it's like to have been married, or to do the holidays, or to move into a home, furnish a home together. There's so many things that other people have missed out on because they're not married, or they don't have a partner. So it is you just don't know. Like, the grass always looks greener, and trust me, it's not. The grass is never greener. It's just very different. That's the way that I would look at it. Everybody lives their life, and in certain respects, like, you look at, for example, my brother's unmarried, right? So he won't do the sort of stuff that we do, but equally, the flip to that is that he's free to go off and do whatever he wants whenever he wants. Like, if he decides tomorrow, I want to go and travel the world for a year, he can just pack up and go and travel the world for a year. He doesn't have to worry about a partner, a family, a job, whatever. He can do what he needs to do. Whereas if I said to you, I'm going to go and travel for a year, I'll see you in a year, you'd be like, where the f*** are you going?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I think I'd be like, okay, let's go. That's the truth.
Yeah, I know, but I want to go alone.
No, that doesn't happen.
See, that's the thing.
That's
there
not.
You go. So he
that
can go
isn't-
alone and go and do what he wants to do and travel the world and experience the world alone. So,
Yeah.
But if I said I want to go solo for a
No,
year,
I'd be like, if you want to, no, that's too long. I'd be like, if you want to go on holiday alone, go alone.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, but anyone can do
Okay.
that. But the point that I'm making is that is the difference between what he can get up and do and what somebody who's married can get up and do. So this is what I mean. So there's pros and cons to it all.
Yeah.
But what I would do if I was in that situation is maximize the pros. Let's say I was single and I'm married.
Yeah.
I would go off and travel the world.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what
100%.
I mean?
Yeah.
So the things that I like for the situation that I'm in, I would look at what can I do that other people in this situation can't do, and let me go off and do it.
Yeah.
So
Explore.
if that means that I can go and travel the world, and I'll go and live in different countries a month at a time, I'd go and do that.
Yeah. I don't get that either. I don't know. Maybe that's a thing that as you get older, you're like, why are you not doing this? I don't know, maybe it is something that you realise as you're older.
I don't know.
It's not like I'm sitting here thinking, I wish I could go and do that. But I'm just thinking, if I was in your position, they're like, go and do the things that are gonna better you as a person. Like, I wish there were things that I did when I was single and had like less responsibilities that I didn't do.
Yeah, but we also had less money.
Yeah.
So you didn't have the ability to get up. So this is what I'm saying. At this point in your life, in your mid-40s, you should have a certain level of financial stability, right?
Yeah.
So if you have that level of financial stability and you're alone, go and travel.
Yeah.
Take a year out, go and travel. What's going to happen?
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You're
not like
gonna
you're
come,
18.
you know, you're going to come back.
Yeah.
You're either going to come back wiser.
Yeah.
You might go to a country and find an opportunity to do something
True.
else there, right? You may be on a journey and then halfway through that journey realize that, hang on a minute, I really love this place.
Or you find a life partner.
Yeah. I'll cancel the rest of my journey. I've
Yeah.
got, you know, I can create a business here. I can create a job here.
So much that you
Meet
could
somebody.
do. Yeah.
Right? Oh, I've met the love of my life accidentally in a bar in Thailand.
Imagine.
Or Australia
Yeah.
or wherever, right?
I know.
So it opens the door so much. You can do so much. So this is what I mean. Like, I just think that anybody who's in the situation, whatever situation you're in, whether you're single, whether you're married, whatever it is that you're doing, the main thing is always try and make the most of the situation that you're in. Look at what is the reason why I've got married, right? Have I just done it to tick a box, or have I done it because I love this person and you know, I think a lot of things people do in life is a tick box. I need to buy a house. I need to have children. I need to do this. I need to, and it's like, hang on, no, you don't need to do anything.
You don't have to. This is just what society over the years has made you believe that you have to do. I completely agree there. Like, I feel like I felt like that a lot about kids to begin with. And at this point in my life, I'm just like, who said? Who said I have to, like, where has this rule come about that you have to, oh, no, I want to get married and have kids. Like, you don't have to. You do what it is that you feel as your unit, you feel works well for you.
Well, I spoke to a mate of mine. We were just discussing, like, not having children and not being able to pass the stuff down. She was like, why do you want to do that? She's like, you worked for it. You're not going to take it with you. Might as well spend it. What else have you worked for? And you're like, hang on a minute, yeah. You know, what if I do want to do that? What's stopping me? Nothing.
Yeah.
If we decided tomorrow, hang on a minute, let's pack up YouTube, pack up everything that we're doing, right? And we didn't have this little boy. Let's go and travel the world. Like, if we had the financial ability to do it, I would do it.
Yeah.
I would plan like a round the world tour with whatever savings we've got, however much money we can make, wherever we can make it. Just live whatever you can, you know, the life that you can live. But my point is this: it's a lot harder for us to do it because of the responsibilities that we have.
Yeah.
If you are single,
you have less responsibilities.
and you have got the financial ability to do it, go and do it.
Yeah. If you are in your 40s and you're single, I don't understand why you wouldn't be doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because how I was saying, and you're completely right, when I was saying that, okay, if I was young, when I look at myself when I was younger, I wish I did this, this, and this. You're right there. Like, I'm talking about when I was like 20 something, when I was like.
My outing when I was in my 20s or when I was younger was go to town and get a bag of chips from the chip shop with your friends and get a bus back.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to afford what you can in your 40s. You're not going to be able to do that in your 20s. So people in their 40s, I just feel like, who are single, there's so much you can do. And to be fair, look, we're not only just saying it, we do live by that ourselves. We are well aware, and we know plenty of people as friends who have children, and we see what they can and can't do. And I'm sure there are many positives to it. And I'm sure there is a lot of pleasure and joy that they get out of that. But we also do naturally, as you do when you are on the other side, look at the things that they can't do. And we make the most of that. If we decide that we want to get up and go somewhere, we can. Do you know what I mean? We want to do something together and spend quality time together and not have to worry about whatever it is that parents worry about when they have kids. We don't have to worry about those things. So we do try and make the most out of the situation that we're in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, look at my mate Paul.
Yeah.
Right? He's 50 this year.
Yeah.
Not married.
And he is living life.
He's got a kid from when he was younger, which he's
a teenager though, right?
He's grown up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's turning 50 this year, so he's celebrating by doing 50 days of partying.
Yeah.
Whether it's here or around the world.
That is crazy.
So that's his way of celebrating. And look at his life. He lives his life. He lives on the marina. He's got a boat. He's got a jet ski. He's got 3 or 4 cars, a couple of motorbikes. You know, he does well for himself, but he also lives his life. I've never known somebody who enjoys his life so much.